Nini wins. Victory was in doubt, so close to call. Mark McCormack wins the US title. He goes on to win the PCT Tour Championship. This year, it's wide open as US cycling becomes more confident with the achievements of Lance Armstrong. McCormack returns this time on a new team and looks stronger than ever. US Postal is in attendance with a team made up of veteran US domestic riders and seasoned international cyclists. CSC has Jakob Phil, the European veteran who could be strong here, along with third-place finisher in the 98 Tour de France, the American Bobby Julich. He's back on form. With all eyes maybe on two-time USPRO champion Freddie Rodriguez. He has a strong chance of winning his third US title. His early season form has been excellent. It's all up next on OLN's Race of the Week. Everybody, and welcome to Philadelphia, home of the Wachovia USPRO Championship. I'm Phil Liggett, joined of course by John Eustice, himself a former USPRO cycling champion. Well, for 20 years now, nearly 750,000 people have come out one Sunday in June to watch this championship, and this year will be no exception. It's also the 11th year of the women's event, the Liberty Classic. John, there are two prizes at stake. This is a massive prize list, $135,000 for the men, but you have a USPRO champion who need not necessarily be the winner of the race.
Well, that's what makes this race so complicated to cover and to race. You've got two races in essence. You've got the winner to be the first one across the finish line, as in any race in the world, but you've also got the race to be the first American to finish among all the Americans in the race. Sometimes the first American wins the race, often they don't, and that's what makes it such a complex race to follow, to race, and to call as a broadcaster.
Now, massive fields in both events, 170 plus riders in the men's event, good continental input. They've come over here from races like the Giro d'Italia. Give me a couple of names we expect to see in the action.
Well, the number one name on everybody's lips is Fred Rodriguez. He's coming off a hot stage win in the Tour of Italy. He's coming off a great race that happened a couple of days ago in Trenton, where he blasted away in his 54.11 in a headwind sprint and won going away. So Fred Rodriguez is the number one favorite for the race. But as well, you've got Max Van Heesler from the U.S. Postal Service team. You've got a couple of small Italian teams, not small Italian teams, but small in terms of the riders they brought.
Yes.
The Seiko team is a bunch of young sprinters. The Pro Deer Sonia Duval team from Spain has got a very good sprinter named Ventoso. So there are a lot of very good riders in this field, as well as the Americans, who have come up with some terrific riders in the HealthNet team with their great sprinter, Canadian sprinter Gord Fraser, as well as the other Americans in the field who have shown that they're no longer quite so afraid of the Europeans as they've been in years past, and they're ready to go blow for blow with them.
All right, well, a great race in prospect. The route is a familiar one. It's never changed in the 20 years history of this race. It starts and finishes on the Ben Planking Parkway. After 3 short opening circuits, it's out down the Schuylkill River banks along the Kelly Drive. Then we go up the Manayunk Wall. We climb that wall 10 times. Then we come back over Lemon Hill. We finish with 3 small circuits of Lemon Hill. Now, as we join the action, I can tell you the race, a massive field of 173 riders in the men's event, is underway. Early breakaway going after 10 miles at 28 riders. It's thinned down a little bit as you join the action. Let's see what happens.
And now, under the power of the CSC team, things are looking rough. And here's a man who's got to be worried, Scott Moninger, the man who's been hidden under the efforts of his teammates. His teammates have been in the front, killing themselves for him. He's been sitting in the breakaway, and now he's got a decision to make. What can I do? What can I do to salvage something out of this breakaway that's now being mown down under the power of the CSC team? And he's got one choice to make, and that is, unless I'm wrong, Phil, you tell me, explode up the Manayunk wall if they make it there ahead of the field this lap.
I think he may have made a mistake here, John, because he's got a minute and 39, latest check as we speak. Says a minute 48 there. We've even got more recent than that now because we're taking these timings live from the course. But I can tell you now, CSC have decided they've got to chase this race down. And don't forget, they're carrying a big favourite on the team in Jakob Peel. He finishes well. He won a stage in the Tour de France at Marseille last year. He is a rider who can take this in the sprint if the team can bring it back to order, and I think they can now. Moninger has not given away any excess energy because he's made his team do all of the work. He must be feeling one of the fittest riders in this group, but I think if he doesn't make a move more or less in the next 2 or 3 miles, then he's going to have to hope he saved enough energy to go with the next wave because they're coming up.
And here comes Danny Pate. He's been tired. He's drifted to the back of the field. He's taking his breath. No, he's taking Moninger up to the front. Look, he's giving Moninger a ride up to the front. That's teamwork. And Moninger now up in the front with his now 4 of the Health Net riders. For me, this has got to be their last shot. They've got to give everything they have to try to get to the base of the Manayunk wall ahead of this CSC-driven field. Look at Pate. Look at the desperation all over his face. Look at the power of a former world champion giving it all for his team, and Moninger sitting there just hoping to get to the wall to try to break this breakaway group up.
This is Pate's last ounce of energy going into this. When he sees the wall this time, we won't see Danny Pate again. He has ridden superbly. There's the gap briefly, 1:39, the one we've just given you. And Moninger is gambling now. He can get at least a minute and a half onto the wall and go for it. He's got to lead this group on the climb and do one big lap on his own. It's a big ask, this. And then stay for those 3 small laps for the finish.
He's got to hope that someone else will have the same sort of tactical idea as him. I mean, there are almost 30 riders in this breakaway. There've got to be some of them. They've all got to know that this is the time of the wall. The CSC is coming. CSC is driving the train of that field behind. So you've got to look for riders like Jones. The number 94 of Jones from this Health Net team has been like Moninger. He's been protected under the efforts of Pate and Sayers. So he too, as he sits in 3rd position, might have some legs to go over the top of the wall. Ernie Lechuga has been very strong. As we go back and look at the Postal Service team back in the field, as now our second television camera is back. That's Dave Zabriskie, number 14, a man coming back from terrific injury for the 2nd time in his career, working with the CSC team. So now we have 2 Tour de France teams bearing down on this breakaway. The Postal Service team and the CSC team united. Temporary alliance of convenience, if you will. They're teammates for now, and that'll all change once the race evolves further.
Well, that's the CSC team and one helper there from US Postal in Zabriskie. These are the leaders again now. They have ridden brilliantly, Health Net. All these riders in the lead group, none of them giving any help whatsoever to the boys in green and black, as they are now keeping up the pace. About a 1:35 is the latest. We'll rejoin the action in the Wachovia US Pro Championship Series in just a moment.
The 2000 made it to the wall in front of the CSC-driven peloton and Postal Service-driven peloton at that. And so now, Health Net guys no longer on the front. Michael Creed, the Postal Service, taking the lead on the hill and coming on the Subaru Master of the Mountain. And there goes the man we talked about, Mike Jones. He's a man that Health Net has been holding in reserve. This is the time for him to go. It's now or never for Mike Jones because the field is coming down and he's got to reform a breakaway. Pate and Sayers are gone. And there's the peloton coming right behind them. CSC at the front, and they're closing right down.
Well, a magnificent piece of pacemaking here. We were told it was Aquasaponi, but we had seen it was CSC. I think it's been CSC all of the way. There's the attack by Mike Jones while we've been watching Scott Moninger to make his move. Mike has made his... It's an act of desperation here by these 2 riders, and the other rider here trying to have a little dig away. I didn't quite catch his number, but in fact, this will be Glenn Mitchell. I should have looked at his face. He's an old friend of mine. Glenn Mitchell here, who's ridden so well for New Zealand over the years, and he climbs mountains really, really well. He's ridden very quietly in this breakaway. He's had the thought the same as the boys from Health Net. This is an act of desperation for him now with 34 miles to go. And the thing that could go wrong here for the race is that when they catch that big group, which won't be that long now, maybe another 2 or 3 miles, they don't know how many were up there. And if this guy is up the road by himself, they may for a moment not realise he's gone away from them. He's looking now to take this race into the final big circuit in the lead. And Glenn Mitchell is a rider who could do this.
He's a strong rider, but he's by himself, and this field has no interest in slowing down. Behind, there's got to be tremendous action. Just as we got a glimpse of the field going under the railroad bridge and starting its way up this time, up the Subaru Master of the Mountain in Manayunk. We saw Danny Pate going backwards. He'd already been caught by the field. That's how fast they were going, and that's how depleted, exhausted, destroyed, used up Danny Pate was. And for now, with no Health Net rider in front, with the breakaway being absorbed by the CSC-led field, you've got to say that for now, unless some developments occur in the race, all of that Health Net effort, all of that heroic effort they put into this race has been for naught, because now it's a whole new race and they do not seem to be in it.
Well, the breakaway survived being the word, 115 miles in front today, 4 3/4 hours for the boys. And this man, Glenn Mitchell of New Zealand, comes from Wellington. He has won some big races around the world. He loves racing in America, and he's playing his card. The one card he's got left in his hand is to leave the group. Now, everybody behind him is rethinking the strategy, because they may now know, or may now think, they have all of the riders back in the pack. And this man is heading for Lemon Hill, and it's the express train service. Still plenty of action to come on the streets of Philadelphia. We'll just take a break.
Welcome back. Well, the breakers survived one more climb over the Manayunk Wall. One of the most popular sports teams in the world is the United States Postal Service cycling team. Now, Phil takes a look back at their triumphs over the years here in Philadelphia.
When you think of the United States Postal Service team, you think an amazing man in yellow. Yes, Lance Armstrong has won the Tour de France 5 straight times. Lance now goes for a record 6 wins this July and is currently in Europe preparing for the event. Looking back, Lance has put on some incredible performances over the years here too in Philadelphia. And his one victory goes back to his Motorola days in 1993, when he won the event along with $1 million purse for sweeping 3 straight Pro Tour events. In the Postal team's first year of existence, they produced their first victory right here in Philadelphia in 1996, when Eddie Gregers outdueled his teammates, Tyler Hamilton and Marty Jemison. Gregers surprised everyone with the victory. George Hincapie thought he had won the US title in 1997, but was disqualified for drafting off a team car. Revenge was sweet, though, in 1998 for Postal and for George. No sign of Hincapie breaking through just yet now as they race up towards the line, and it's going to be the rider from Bertolini. Right on the line. It is a victory indeed for Georgie Hincapie. He came absolutely out of nowhere. 1999, Postal is right there. Now, who's going to lead out? Here comes Marty from the back. He's going to open up the sprint, and it's Jakob Peel taking his wheel now. Janssen dives over Marty's wheel there. It's going to be close now, as in fact Brian Walton has gone. Marty Jemison popped out of his pedal in the closing moments of the race and couldn't recover. He finished 5th. It was the highest placed American though, and therefore he took the national title. 2002, and the Postal team were there again. For him, because it can't be. He's had to do too much work, as now the race behind starts to sprint, and here comes McRae. So Chad McRae here, as now Page is going to hang on. He hopes for 3rd, but the man who's waited to the last, it will be McRae for the title, and Barry Walters for the win. Walters gets the win, the champion of Canada, but the champion of the United States will be Chad McRae. McRae got the US title, and that was US Postal's 4th. This year, Michael Barry could be the one to watch. And Tony Cruz is another to be on the lookout for. For the United States Postal Service, the goal here is to win in Philadelphia, along with thinking about a certain rider across the pond in Europe getting ready for another possible victory ride down the Champs-Élysées in Paris.
Lance is still on track to win 6, but look out for strong challenges from Tyler Hamilton, Jan Ullrich, Iban Mayo, and Bobby Julich. The breakaway was almost caught by the field on the hill, but what happened is one man went across from the field to the breakaway. A rider from the CSC team, a rider from Philadelphia, one of the best riders in the world. It is Bobby Julich, and there he is. Bobby Julich, third in the Tour de France, lived in Manioc for several years, has a house in Haverford. Bobby Julich launched from the field to the breakaway, and that is why you see a shift in the CSC tactics. That's why you see him waving on Jimmy Madsen. Come on, Jimmy, you've been sitting on all day. Now you got to do for me what Danny Payton did for the Health Net team. You got to kill yourself, and that's what's going on right here. What a race this is turning into.
That's a terrific ride by Julich.
Wow.
It wasn't seen by the cameras, but it was obviously also a plan by CSC. They chased almost to the contact with this breakaway. Julich then sprinted on his own across the gap. Once he reached them, of course, his teammates behind put the blocks on. The gap has opened again. We are now going down over Lemon Hill towards the final 14-mile circuit, and that is going to actually do well for Julich. There's the situation, 30 seconds to between the lead and the peloton. That's the official, 31 miles remain. We'll rejoin the action in the Wachovia USPRO Championship Series in just a moment. People of Chip, and this race really is now beginning to boil.
Certainly is, Phil. And the breakaway has grown into about 50 riders. They're making their way up to Lemon Hill. And with all the favorites in the front, at this point in the race, you've got to think that this is it.
It's a big field that's come back together after an extraordinarily passionate, hard-fought race where we had a 30-man breakaway with almost a 9-minute lead, get whittled down, almost caught. Bobby Julich bridged across on the 9th time up the Manioc wall, reformed the break, changed all the dynamics of the race, put the Postal Service team back on the defensive. As we look at our race right now, Freddie Rodriguez in the front. Freddie, aggressive as always at the end of this United States Professional Championship, this Wachovia Cycling Series event. And there's Debbie DeFratini of the Monex team, the winner of the Baby Giro d'Italia, the Amateur Giro d'Italia, closing up that gap. There are so many good riders back in the breakaway. The Seiko team, who have been invisible the entire day, but who have some superb riders in the names of Gabriele Balducci, a very good sprinter, and Giosu Bonomi, a young rider who is also an extraordinarily good sprinter. We have the Prodier Sonia Duval team, have a rider, Rubens Bertagliati, a good sprinter, as well as Francesco Ventoso. Too many sprinters to name, as you've said, Phil. So who knows what's going to happen at the end of this race, but if these riders want to avoid a sprint, they've got to get it going. But the Prodier Sonia Duval team on the front in the yellow jersey, stringing out this field, clearly riding in favor of their sprinter, Ventoso, for the moment.
Well, this is a very, very quick race now as they go down towards the Ben Franklin Parkway. And Fred Rodriguez must be asking himself a question. There he is. He's still in a beautiful position to win this race. He's made one winning move and it hasn't worked. In the world of professional cycling at this level, you only get a second chance, then the legs don't work anymore. There's Freddie Rodriguez, and let's hope he's feeling good as he heads down towards the parkway. The adrenaline will be pumping now in every one of these bike riders, because there's at least 60 riders who will begin to think they can win this race. A lot of riders now believe that the $40,000 prize could be going their way. An enormous cheer as they come back onto the parkway. They will shortly turn at the bottom, head back up to the start finishing line, which is to the left of our picture briefly there. Then they will start their three-mile circuit, which at this speed it will take no time at all. Catch an eye for number one in the race. I've spotted him a couple of times. We haven't spoken about him all race. Mark McCormack is his name. He is the defending champion. He has put himself in to win again.
Mark McCormack of the Colavita Olive Oil team changed over from the Saturn team. He's the defending national professional champion. He is on superb form. He won the Tour of Connecticut in just overpowering style with his 5511 gear, his favorite gear, the man who uses the biggest gears in the race. He's got another teammate, Ivan Dominguez, the Cuban missile, who seems to be in that breakaway as well. There are so many good sprinters in this breakaway. The CSC team now thinking they've got two men who can win this race. Number 31, there's McCormack. There's the Colavita rider. Number 1, Mark McCormack, wearing the colors, his team colors. The first time in a year he hasn't worn the stars and stripes of the national champion. He's still got the stars and stripes on his felt racing bicycle. but the CSC team has got Lars Michelsen, the great sprinter from Denmark, as their car ace player in this final rush to the finish. So many sprinters out there, such a big group. Phil, it's going to be a tough one to judge.
Well, McCormack must be thinking it's been a great day. He's not wasted any energy, and the other teams have chased down the breakaways, and he's still in with a shout here. There are 50 riders left in the race here, 50 in this big group. That's Crescendo D'Amore waving there, and he's another good sprinter on Fred's team. So Rodriguez has still got plenty of help in that squad. Now they're coming in down the back straight, up to the home straight. This will be the sprint, but it's still 9 miles to go. 3 circuits before the big finish. And this is the Sonia Duval team now from Spain who are driving the race. The Europeans have got themselves back in big time.
They know how to ride a bike race. They have an incredible sense of timing. And now the Sonia Duval team and the team of Fred Rodriguez Aquasaponi, as well as yet again a HealthNet rider. What a race this HealthNet team has done. They have been nothing if not on the front of this bike race. They're on the front. What that means is that Gordon Fraser, their Canadian sprinter, one of the fastest men in the world, is in that field, and they believe in him. So Aquasaponi, Prodier, Sonia Duval, and HealthNet driving this finish, keeping the speed high, countering any attacks that might happen, respectively riding for their sprinters.
We'll rejoin the action in the Wachovia USPRO Championship Series in just a moment.
Mark McCormick.
Welcome back to the Wachovia USPRO Cycling Championship Series here in Philadelphia.
We, of course, had the 11th running of the Wachovia Liberty Classic women's event. Petra Rosner of Germany has won the race 6 times and has announced that she will retire at year's end. The women do 4 laps, including the Manayunk Wall, but it still came down to the sprint.
The road now as they try to look for a way through. T-Mobile are trying to put the sprinters up into the pack here. Rosner is going to have to go very early on this one, and that may not be good. It is going to be a desperate lead out now. Now Rosner is coming off the front as they start to move around. She's taking it on. That was absolutely brilliant sprinting. But Rosner, at the end of this day, is going to say, my victory is also Judith Arndt's victory.
Petra takes number 7, followed by Gina Grain of Canada and Laura Van Gilder of the U.S. Now let's get back to the men's competition.
This has been a great race today. Nobody has ever given up hope of winning this. There are 50 guys can still win this race. The Europeans, many of them haven't seen the front of the race all day, are suddenly back in the action. But as we come over that Lemon Hill for the first time, you see there's a group here trying to go clear. And I'm just wondering if that is Henk Vogels. No, it's not Henk Vogels, the man who holds the record. Henk is also fancying his chances. At least he told me last night he was, John.
Yeah, the tough Aussie is back on form. The man who started this breakaway over Lemon Hill is a young rider from Italy, now racing on the United States team, the Monex team, Davide Frattini. And he is a young rider who's tried a career in the U.S., and here he is at the front of this race. Number 44, that is Jeff Lauder from the Navigators team. There's Frattini in his marvelous Italian-trained style. And with him, number 112 from the Ofoto team, Eric Saunders. Eric Saunders in that breakaway as well. So they are going. There's Frattini forcing his way down the road. Jeff Lauder behind him. Just a small gap on the breakaway, but they are doing it. They are opening up some distance, looking around. But now, caught by the field. Prodier. Well, breaking the field.
Look at this. Bert Swindlehurst has found the legs from, because he was in that original break that lasted for 125 miles. He's still attacking, and he's running into the last 6.5 miles of the day. Here they sweep onto the parkway again. There'll be 2 laps to go next time they come up on the left-hand side of our picture. And that'll be 6 miles to the finish. And they're still all together now. There's no one team can control this anymore. In a big international race, when you've got big teams, they try to control the race and put all the men on the front. These teams are smaller and not in stature but in number, and they can't control the pack as easily. This is a wide open race this year.
It's a smaller field. In the front there is Rinaldo Nocentini, the rider who was so strong in the Giro d'Italia, finishing second, and that marvelous stage won by Cunego that shifted the pink jersey from his teammate Simoni to his shoulders. So this is a great great Italian climber on the front, sacrificing himself for his team leader, Freddie Rodriguez. The gray jerseys of the Acqua Sapone team, the yellow of the Pro Sonia Duval. These two teams racing to what they hope to be a field sprint. They've got two strong sprinters in there, and they want to keep the speed as high as possible. There's the third Acqua Sapone rider. It's an underestimated team. They're young guys, but they're run by extraordinarily clever team director Franco Gini, who the last time Franco Gini came to America, it was with the original Mercatoni Uno team, and they won the race in 1990. So he wants to keep that record going with a win here with Fred Rodriguez. Now there's Bobby Julich in the front. Bobby Julich now transformed from someone looking to win the race himself into, I believe, this is conjecture, someone leading out a sprint, keeping the race control for his leader in a sprint finish, that is Lars Michelsen, number 36.
Well, I'm just looking around at some of the faces there to see if I can see Gordon Fraser trying to move up at the moment. Yes, there he is now. They're coming through on the right of our picture, the Health Net boys. This, you think, was the last lap, but they still have 2 to go, and I'm sure they know that as they race up now. You can hear bells ringing, but it's not for the final circuit as they drive on. They've still got 2 laps to go, 6 miles to the finish. Freddie Rodriguez's team and the team from Spain, Prodier Sony Duval, are trying to control this race. CSC from Denmark still fear with Jakob Peel or Bobby Julich or even Frankie Hoy who can pack a finish. They've got 3 men who could win this race as well. It's shoulder to shoulder, and they'll all be afraid now of Gordon Fraser, the super fast Canadian.
Fraser lost the Trenton Invitational by less than 2 inches to Freddie Rodriguez. He was tearful, he was emotional at the press conference, saying that he was one of the fastest riders in the world, but he just couldn't get the big result in an international race like that. And today is Gord Fraser's chance, and you've got to say, Phil, his Health Net team has been all over this bike race from the start to the finish. After putting 5 riders in the breakaway early on, here they are in the finale after 150 miles, and they are still all over the front of this race. John Leeswin he's been so aggressive earlier on in this Wachovia cycling series, but he's been kept quiet today. He's been kept quiet, and he perhaps is in a position to help Gord Fraser. Perhaps he has been kept quiet to provide that lead out, that final lead out for his Canadian team leader. But Sonia Duval, we're stringing out this field. That is Rubens Bertagliati, a former yellow jersey in the Tour de France. Now, he is clearly not going to be the sprinter for this group, and their sprinter on this Prodier Sonia Duval team. Well, they have a couple of sprinters, but the one, in theory, is Alberto Lodi, number 75. But there's also one named 74, Francesco Ventoso. So they have 2 sprinters, very good sprinters on this team. You're laughing, Phil.
I'm smiling. I'm just looking down, John. I mean, I know cycle racing like you do. I can't pick a winner anymore. Look at it. Everybody is racing for the front. They're coming from all directions. This is now a race which has thrown itself to the wind. They are racing to be first round every corner because they want to hold their advantage as they go through. As they start the climb of Lemon Hill again, there's more sprinting up the front here now. It's grab the wheel if you can. Chris Horner is totally desperate now. He does not have a sprint finish. He's got to beat him on the course and ride home alone. He knows it and they know it, but this guy is so fit, so fast. He has opened the gap and he's cracked the race. There are 4 riders trying to reach him now. He'd have a chance in a 5-man sprint.
Look at the power of Chris Horner. He
That's incredible.
Up the Lemon Hill. He has pulled 4 riders out of the field after him. This is a rider, Phil, who should be racing in Europe. We'd love to see him here in America, but I'm telling you, if Chris Horner could start the Tour de France, he'd be in the top 10. He is a fantastic rider, and he belongs to be up there with Bobby Julich, with Lance Armstrong, with Levi Leipheimer, and with Tyler Hamilton. He is a rider of that level, and he is showing it here today. What a champion.
Well, Horner has won 44 races in his life. He turned professional back in 1995. He did spend a little time in France in the years 97, 98, 99. He came back over here and he's had a tremendous career. But this is his final effort. I said you get 2 shots. He's had 1 on the Manayunk. He's now had his 2nd on Lemon Hill. He has got to make this one count. He's got 4 miles to ride up the front of what has been an incredibly vigilant attacking field.
And look, he's opening up some space. Chris Horner is a champion, and even if he gets caught, he has ridden with a champion's heart and a champion's legs. Very few riders in the world could do what he's doing right now.
Well, you can hear the police going by our commentary position as they bring the leader back onto the Ben Franklin Parkway. This is the chasing group, and now we've got one rider in there. It's Caleb Mannion from Australia. He rides for Jelly Belly. They've had success today, don't forget, because Doug Orenshaw of the USA has run out the final winner of the Subaru Master of the Mountain competition. He'll be up later for a check for $2,500. But now look at this, the lone figure at the head, Chris Horner. He has never won the championship of the United States. He has fully deserved it on many, many occasions, and he hasn't won it yet. But wait till he comes into the town now, because the crowd, and as always after 20 years, they know they're cycling in Philadelphia, and they'll know Chris Horner as he races down the Ben Franklin Parkway now to an enormous cheer. He settles down into a time trial position, because now it's him against the rest, and against four riders primarily who are desperately trying to reach him, and he's holding them.
He's holding them. He's looking around. Look forward, Chris. Don't look behind. It won't do you any good. He's holding onto that gap, and in this breakaway, second group behind Horner is a difficulty for the Health Net team, because they've got a rider in there, as they've had all day in every breakaway. They've got number 93, Bryce Jones, a good sprinter from Arkansas. But Bryce Jones proposes a tactical difficulty for this Health Net team. Do they chase him down in favor of Gord Fraser, or do they play the Bryce Jones card? Health Net has a big decision to make in this race right now.
Inch by inch, those four riders are nearly on terms here with Chris Horner, but if he gets to Lemon Hill again, he'll blow them away, because he loves those uphill slopes. But he's got to get to Lemon Hill. He's 2.5 miles from that climb, as those four riders, inspired no doubt by the fact they're on the parkway, are slowly but surely closing the gap. Chris, wait for them and take a deep breath on Lemon Hill, because they've got you.
They got him. Now, there goes an immediate attack down the right. Countered. Now, what's going to happen? Will this breakaway catch Horner and think, oh, okay, we've caught him, and slow down? Or are they going to redouble their efforts and go forward in it? And it looks like they're going for it. They're racing hard. Bryce Jones trying to sit on the back, being forced back into the breakaway by the Jelly Belly rider. We don't have that identification. But if this breakaway is to succeed, they have got to race in a completely cohesive manner against the chasing field. And no, it's all over. The field has caught them.
Oh my goodness, this is incredible.
1 lap to go.
3 laps to go. Let's start the race again, because they're all here together once more. 50 riders are together. Horner looks over his shoulder. His heart will have hit his cycling shoes, because they're right there, all of them sitting on the back wheel. Bryce Jones has done the job as well, because now they've got Gordon Fraser again back in the action. I'm presuming he's there. I haven't seen him, but I can't believe he's not. Still plenty of action to come on the streets of Philadelphia. We'll just take a break.
This is going to be a drag race. Health Net right now trying to go.
On the ASP World Championship.
Well, they're swinging away out of sight of the finish line crowd yet again, but this time it is for the last time. There are a number of great sprinters now, all going to think this is my $40,000, and if you're American by nationality, this is my USPRO title as well, as they go out now towards Kelly Drive for the last time. Watch the riders now position. They're trying to save everything they've got left. 153 miles covered already, as they now, just as I speak, go through the race record time held by Henk Vogels. So they're just going to be around about a 57 today, 5 hours, 57 minutes. A great time.
Now look at the dynamics of the peloton. 1, 2 Health Net riders in front, stacked up behind them. 1, 2, 3, 4 of the Aqua Sapone riders with their red helmets and gray jerseys. Then we're looking for the Postal Service team lead out. Where is the Postal Service team? Where are the teammates for Max Van Heeswijk? Now, on the right, Seiko riders coming up. They have been invisible in the red jerseys on their Pennsylvania-made Cannondale bicycles. Look at the fighting going on. Look at the fighting. Tempers rising high. Aqua Sapone and Health Net throwing blows in this race already, pushing each other. And now an attack out of the field. An attack up Lemon Hill. Who is it?
Well, that is an enormous sprint, and again, this is Juan Fuentes, I think, of Seiko, who's launched. He speaks fluent English. He spent the first 15 years of his life living in Australia, but he's actually from Italy, and he races Spain rather, and he races for a Spanish team. He's launched a great attack.
Number
Juan
64.
Fuentes it is, who goes clear. Won his first races as a pro last year, and I hate to tell you, John, he turned pro because he listened to me commentate on the bike race. He never rode a bike in his life.
If he wins, I'll tell all the American bike riders. But there goes Fuentes, the greatest amateur, one of the great amateurs in Spanish history. He's what's known as a skatista, someone that attacks before the sprint, anticipates the sprint, and he is a clever rider, what the Italians call a furbo, or a clever one who sees everything. And Fuentes doing what Chris Horner wanted to do, escaping the field, taking the curves to its very limits. Now, can he hold on from the onslaught of the teams as they wind it up, leading out their sprinters for the final 200 meters of this race?
Well, Juan Fuentes, born in Sydney, in New South Wales in Australia. I nearly dropped dead when he came up to me. I thought he was Italian. He spoke to me in English, which is absolutely fluent. He told me, we were on the subway with him on Friday night, John, when we went to an official reception with the organisation in Manayung. He says, I'm coming into good form, but I don't think I'll be winning this week. Well, he's got every chance now.
He certainly does, and he is on the World Cup team classification winning team, the Seiko team, on their Cannondale bicycles. And look, he's got a gap. He is holding on. Fuentes holding on, holding up the promise. And don't forget, last year, the Seiko team won this race with Zanini. And now here he is, the Seiko team, back in front, challenging for the victory yet again on their carbon fiber aluminum Cannondale bicycles. But the gap isn't huge, and the field is together, and the field is sprinting, building up the momentum for the sprint.
Well, he goes down the back straight. You can see where he is now. He is desperately close to home, but I'm afraid to tell you he's desperately close to the peloton. The crowd have gone berserk. The charge is coming from US Postal, even without Lance Armstrong. This team is a huge team to reckon with now.
Now they're there.
Fuentes is going to be wiped out. He looks over his shoulder now. Other riders are moving into position here.
There goes Frattini.
Desperate.
Frattini. There goes a late attack by Frattini, the winner of the Amateur Tour of Italy on the Monex team. He anticipated the catch of Fuentes, the counter-attack. Frattini has got a gap.
Well, I think also he's not going to make that one pay either. The roundabout down the bottom end is going to be so crucial. Again, the charge is coming at them. Watch out now to the location of Freddie Rodriguez, but I'm not so sure that Freddie himself now is finding the pace just that little bit too hot here. As they make the corner around the bottom, the navigators are getting in on the act here, which means they could well have Davidenko coming up, or even David McKenzie or Kirk O'Brien. Aaron Olsen is making the move, and number 1 goes through. Mark McCormack, the guy who won this race last year, the sleeper of the race this year, as they go 1 for 1 for the line. Now McCormack is in a perfect position, as he's got to hold on to this line here, because leading out David McKenzie of Australia is the left of these two riders who make the move now, and I think it's Kirk O'Brien who's taking up the running once more. Navigators trying to take this race to the line. Mark McCormack is still there in the middle, as Fred Rodriguez also goes off to the left of our picture. A desperate finish by so many guys. This looks like David McKenzie wiped away in the centre as Sonia Gabal gets it on the line. Well, that is Alberto Lotto, I think, who takes it. No, it's Francisco Ventoso. And I think that's his first win, because I've never called him winning a bike race before. Francisco Ventoso of Spain has pulled off the biggest coup of his life. $40,000. That's a huge prize for a guy from Spain.
Phil, he won the first race of the year in Tour de Qatar. First race in Qatar. He's a young rider from the north of Spain. He's on a long-term contract. They know this kid. They're bringing him up slowly. He won the field sprint behind behind Van Heeswijk in Lancaster, and Ventoso is confirming the promise that his team has shown in him by signing him to that multi-year contract. A great star of the future and one of the emergent class of Spanish sprinters.
You're absolutely right, John. He's 22 years of age, and he was only 22 years of age 1 month ago. So he gets the victory. It's his second victory of the year, and it's only his first year as a professional. That's incredible. 22, here we go. He pulled it out of the hat here now. Freddie Rodriguez is right there. Who is going to take the American title? Now, it's going to be the guy from HealthNet, but I don't know who it is. Unless that's Gordon Fraser, in which case Freddie Rodriguez will be the American champion.
We'll get the confirmation when we come back to the Wachovia USPRO Championships.
It's been called the most grueling.
La primera fuga y luego trabajando para el sprint.
He's incredibly happy, especially for all the tremendous hard work his team did to help chase down that breakaway and to lead out the sprint. And Tim Johnson here, the teammate. Tim Johnson, maybe you can help us in here a little bit with this interview. So tell us, how worried were you about that breakaway, and what was your role in that breakaway that got 9 minutes up the road?
Well, actually, it turned out to be a perfect day for us, obviously, because we had the breakaway. We had two of us in the break, myself and Gomez, and then we knew that we had the sprinter also. So it was actually a perfect day, and tactics worked out great. Either way, we're going to have a great day.
Yeah, and at the end there, were you confident in his chances to win this sprint?
Absolutely. I mean, we've got two of the fastest guys in Europe, and bring them here, and sure enough, they had a great time in Philly all week and put on a good show today.
Well, what a great day. An Italian, Spanish, American team. They're triumphant here in Philadelphia. Congratulations, Tutti.
Muchas gracias a vosotros.
Back to you.
Well, there it is, the big sprint which has carried Francesco Ventoso to only his second win in his first year as a professional. What a future. 22 years and 1 month of age. It seems to be the year of the youngsters this year. And Gordon Fraser it was there. So, in fact, it's Freddie Rodriguez who is now the champion for a third time. And I've got a feeling there he is.
We're here with
John.
Freddie Rodriguez, the great star of the Wachovia United States Professional Championship. Now, Freddie, that's 2 years in a row you've gone on breakaways before the sprint finish. Why did you do that on the hill?
Basically, I knew I was one of the strongest guys in the field, and I had to cover the move. After missing the early break, and I knew my team depended on it, so we didn't have to end up chasing. I spent a little energy there, but I don't think I dug too deep. Horner was driving it. It was in his best interest to try to keep it away and try to re-counter us later.
All right. Well, listen, Freddie, great race. Thank you so much. We look forward to many more terrific performances from you in the future. Thanks a lot.
Well, that wraps up the 20th year here in Philadelphia of what has turned out to be a very special happening in world cycling as well as just in American cycling. This is set to run for another 20 years. But for this one, it's all over. For John Eustice, I'm Phil Liggett saying so long for now.